Okay, Jessica, you and I go way back. We met when we were 18 years old, and it's been a long time since we've reconnected. So I'm so excited. And there's so much about you that we could honestly talk about, like the incredible mother you are, the wife, kids. I know you've fostered and then adopted. Great thing we would could discuss. Running, pottery, like it's endless. So I hate to like pigeonhole you into this one thing,
Yeah.
but we're going to
Okay.
today, just so it's such an important story. And we know this, other people need to hear it as well, and for this to be there for them. So we're just gonna start right in. I think about 18 months ago, you learned that you had breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
stage 0.
Stage 0.
And then so much has unfolded. So take me back to that moment. How did you know? Like, did you know to go in because something was wrong?
No, it's funny. So we had moved to Asheville 5 years before, and you know how, I don't know if you've moved with kids, but it's like you make sure they have doctors. My husband's a dentist, so they had a dentist, but you like get your kids all squared away, and
Mhm.
then I'm like 5 years in, and I'm like, I haven't been to the doctor. I don't have a doctor. So I finally made an appointment with just a gynecologist for all those, annual stuff. And I was about to turn 41. And she was like, Jessica, you've got to get a mammogram. And I was like, I know, I know. It was actually right before my birthday. And I went to schedule, and all the openings were like on my first birthday. And I'm like, I'm not going on my birthday. And then I just kind of forgot. And my sister-in-law, I think it was like a couple months later, had a mammogram. And we're similar in our build. We both have really small breasts. And so she had gotten called back because she was told that she had dense breast tissue. And so we kind of like prayed. It was like a scare that we were just worried. And she got
Yeah.
called back, and then they did more imaging, and it was fine. Nothing was there. And so she had told me that. She's like, don't be surprised if you get called back, because we're both the same. And so sure enough, I got called back for more imaging.
Mhm.
And I didn't even think twice about it. So they did an ultrasound, and they did more of the imaging, which is a hilarious thing. Have you done that yet? Have you had a
I haven't
mammogram?
done it. I know.
Yes, this is your reminder right now.
I'm breastfeeding. I can't do
That's
it.
right. I know. So you got a little longer. Anyway, so then they called me back, and she was showing me these areas, and she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is DCIS. She's like, that's breast cancer. She's like, it's the best case scenario. It's non-invasive. We call it stage 0. And I was like, what? I'm just like, no, what? And
Yeah.
so stage 0, I was still like, this doesn't count. This isn't real. And so I was leaving for a trip, and they scheduled a needle biopsy for when I got back. Then I had a needle biopsy, and that confirmed that it's ductal. Anyway, I'm not even going to say all the words, but
Okay.
it's
What
non-invasive.
what was your headspace in that time frame in between those two things?
So that is interesting because I don't like, I am a worrier, but I don't like to get my panties in a wad before I know that I
Before
need
you
to.
have to.
And I was leaving on a mission trip with a group, and my 13-year-old at the time, and my husband went with me. And this is all a really cool story, but a lady that was with us that had been my son's teacher, and he had started a new school. She was his third grade teacher, and she had just finished going through treatment for breast cancer. And so this was like 2 years later, and we are now sitting on a bus for 3 hours next to each other. And it was like, she was the first person I told outside of my husband, like, hey, I've got this biopsy waiting on me. What does that
Oh,
mean? And
yeah.
it was so helpful to have her, because we just kind of talked about all the things that it could be, all the things that it like it could easily be a cyst, and they just saw it differently. They prayed over me, and then I got back, and it was
Okay.
it was cancer. But
Okay.
I wasn't even freaking out, because I just was like, and I'd been told, oh, you'll just have a lumpectomy, which is a small surgery, cut it out. you'll move on.
Okay.
And that sounded so simple.
Yeah.
So it was a much bigger spot. And since I have small breasts, it would have been like half of my breast. And because it was non-invasive, that is good. It means that it hasn't spread. So you feel urgency, but I didn't have to it wasn't like we got to get this out right now.
Okay.
But left untreated, it would spread. I go meet with a surgeon and I quickly find out that it's either cutting off half my boob, doing 6 weeks or more of radiation, and then having reconstructive surgery, or just cutting off my boob. And the reason that I chose to just do a bilateral mastectomy and remove them both was because then I was going to have to flip-flop mammograms and MRIs every 6 months for the rest of my life. And that sounded horrible.
Yeah.
I had to have an MRI and it was awful. And I'm like, I can't do this every year forever. I mean, I
Yeah.
can, but I don't want to. And the research that I did, everything I saw, it would come back in 5 years, or it came back 10
Really?
years later. And so I just was like, I don't want to, whatever. I don't even have any boobs anyway. So let's just move on.
Yeah.
And so that was my thought process was, okay, I'll just have this surgery and it'll be like it never happened.
And in this phase, are you Googling like crazy? Are you researching everything you can? Or are you like, I'm just going to follow my
Yeah.
gut and what the doctor says?
So in the beginning, as soon as they told me it was DCIS, it was stage 0, I was Googling nonstop.
Okay.
And that was where I just kept seeing the reoccurrence. I had lumpectomy, and then 2 years later, it came back. I researched a little bit about reconstruction, but I just couldn't even, that was where I was like, oh, I'm just going to listen to what somebody tells me to do.
Yeah.
And by the time I made the decision to do a double mastectomy, that's when I was like, okay, I'm done on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to take over my life. There were so many opinions coming in. Everybody wanted to know. I just was overwhelmed. I was so
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
And at this point, have you told everyone in your circle and community?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though I think anytime you hear the cancer word, especially like your spouse or whatever, is like, oh, we got to move. We got to take care of
Yeah.
this right away. And you want to just get it done and move on. And so I felt at peace about having a mastectomy. But that was where people kept saying, aren't you going to shop around for a plastic surgeon? Aren't you going to? And I was like, no, I'm not looking for an upgrade. I just want as close to myself as I can be.
Yeah.
My oncologist, number one recommendation for plastic surgeons, he was booked out 6 months.
Okay.
And, hindsight, I'm like, well, maybe I should have talked to him anyway. But I was like, oh, I can't wait 6 months.
Yeah.
So I went to her number 2, and there were things about this surgeon that I felt like he heard me. Looking back now, I know that he didn't. He
Okay.
didn't know my lifestyle. He didn't know how active I was. He heard one thing I said, and at the time that gave me reassurance, but now I know more.
Okay.
But I felt strongly about one thing I didn't want. So you can get expanders if you're once you cut out all the flesh out of your body, there's nothing left. It really is almost concaved. And so
Okay.
it's just skin. It's like when people think, oh, you get implants. Well, that goes in between flesh. You still have
Okay.
flesh all around those implants. But after a mastectomy, it's like
There's nothing.
nothing. And
Okay.
so skin rippling is very common. You can truly see the implant. You can see it through my
Okay.
skin. And so I had heard about skin rippling and I was like, oh, I don't want that. Of course. Who would want that? And expanders are generally what people often do. And that's where they put basically like a water balloon inside. And then you go back to the doctor every week and they slowly fill it up with saline, and it stretches your skin slowly. So then you swap it for an implant. But I had heard so many infection stories. And so I was like, oh, I don't want expanders. And the thing that I struggle with is had someone just leveled with me and been like, listen, these are your options. None of them are good.
Yeah.
None of them are going to ever get you back to your body.
Mm.
That's just impossible. So these are your options. This is like what more so like what it's going to look like. Had it just someone just been like honest, but he was so like, yeah, they look natural. You can't even tell a difference. We're just cutting your back, and it was so flippant. And
Okay, quick question, and this
yeah,
may be silly, but is your plastic surgeon, are they doing the mastectomy as well?
no, so surgical
No.
oncologist, and she was like the best of the best in the area.
Okay.
So she does the mastectomy.
Okay.
Then he steps in. It's like a joint surgery. So she
Oh,
does
okay. But it's
half. He
all
does,
in one time.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, he offered this idea where he cut out my lateral muscles from my back, which is like, the muscle you use to do a pull-up or do any kind of, I mean, it's a big muscle in your back. And it wraps around your body and it adds flesh to the implant. So it does add more flesh in there so you have less skin rippling in theory, and it's supposed to look more natural. And I just was like, oh, well, yeah, that's perfect. Anything that's going to look like normal, then that sounds great. And my husband was in there. He's a medical professional. It's like the regret that we live in because we both feel so stupid. But because I never Googled it, I truly didn't ever look it up. I scheduled another consultation with my oncology surgeon because I was feeling so much fear. And then I scheduled another consult with him because I had more questions.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I wasn't asking
Yeah.
all the questions. But anyway, there was a lot of things that happened. The Hurricane Helene hit, which I'm sure
Okay.
you've heard of. It was a
Yeah.
big deal. So my surgery was supposed to be 5 days after that hit. So the hurricane hit. We have no water. We have no power. There wasn't clean water Asheville didn't have it for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And so my surgery got pushed back.
What's that doing to your head?
Oh gosh. I am a huge believer in the power of prayer and the Lord. And so I was like, man, we've been praying. Maybe what if this is like the Lord telling me not to do this? I was panicking. I was
Yeah.
waking up multiple nights a week. I was crying all the time. It was like it really was like my body knew what was coming before I could.
Mm.
And it sounds so silly because even like my chest has been like a source of insecurity in my life.
Yeah.
It's like I got small boobs. It's always been like a joke. But the moment that you're like, wait, you're gonna fully remove part of my body, I can't even explain, but it is devastating.
Mm.
Where suddenly from my belly button to my collarbone, it's not my body. I have no
Mm.
feeling. I have no feeling in my back. I have no feeling in my front. But yet at the same time, I feel like I have like metal armor on. And so even when I'm naked, I feel like I'm wearing something. And so I truly will like look down and be like, oh my gosh, like I forgot I'm naked. I mean, it just is the strangest feeling. And it was like my body knew what was coming before I
Mm.
could even wrap my brain around it. And so I had this moment where I was like, well, what if it's gone? Like what if I don't really
Yeah.
have cancer? And so I scheduled another mammogram in that time and went and did it all again, and I'm sure it was still there. So it got pushed back to the end of October, and that was one of the things. So it's supposed to take 4 to 6 hours. I was on the table almost 9, and there's like so many funny things, but they were about to wheel me back. Like I've been at the hospital. I've got my IV in. I mean, we've already like said my goodbyes to my kids, my sister-in-law. They took them on a trip and took them away for a week so I could have like a full week to
Yeah.
recover without them. And they're about to wheel me back, and the surgeon comes in and he's like, so we have a problem. Because my surgery had been rescheduled, they sent the implants back. in the morning of my surgery, the day before, the surgeon realized my implants weren't at the hospital because I had to special order the smallest
The
implant.
small ones, yeah.
But I didn't want bigger boobs. I didn't want to
I
look
know.
different. I wanted to look like me. And he was like, we have to reschedule. And I'm like, hell no, we're not rescheduling. I'm like, we're all like mentally prepared. We are doing this. And so Grant called every contact we have. We tracked down the FedEx driver. I kid you not. Found my implants
Found
on
your
the FedEx
boobs.
truck. They got to the hospital. So my surgery was supposed to start at like 8 a.m. It started at 3 p.m. So I was in surgery through the middle of the night. And it was just everything went wrong. For whatever reason, he couldn't get my muscles out. So I think I was open on the table longer. And then we got home and our water was clean. I mean, the whole city was still having like so many water issues. And I had full drains. I had 4 drains and he told me I could shower. So I was showering with drains. And like even that, I should have never been showering. I shouldn't have been in that water. I shouldn't have been doing it with drains. It was like all these things kind of went wrong. And so I don't know why I ended up getting an infection, but I ended up getting infected. 10 days later, I had emergency surgery and had to undo everything that was done. So I basically like wrecked my back to have natural looking boobs. And then he had to add new cuts. I was then cut from here to here, take out those
So
implants.
across your
Yeah.
stomach. Why
Yes.
there instead of going back through the
So
back again?
I can move this down so you can see, but so my back, I had 2 long incisions across my back, and
Mhm.
I knew those were going to be there. Another funny thing he said to me, he was like, I moved the incisions lower, so if ever you wear like a gown, they won't show. And I was like, a
The
gown?
backless gown I wear so
I'm
often.
like, how about a sports bra or like a swimsuit? And so now, anyway, so they like show all the time. But so when he wrapped those muscles around, the other thing that they do is they use part of my back. And so basically, he cut little circles in my skin, put the implants through the circles, and then he used flesh from my back to then make these circles that are supposed to kind of be like nipples, but they're totally not, and they're like in the wrong place, and I hate them with every fiber of my being. So he was able to go in. So I had
Okay.
no scars in the front, but then when he took them out, he had to cut all the way across.
Okay.
So it's anyway. So yeah, it was bad. So I got infected. I was so sick, Chelsea. I was like sure I was gonna die.
So talk to me about what's running through your head at that point. Are you almost too sick to like care? I don't
I
mean
was
that, but you know
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
that's literally all you can think about and not go further with it. Were you running through things with your kids? Like where were you at?
Yeah. So I had care, like my sister-in-law flew in and took care of me for a few days once Grant went back to work. And she got tested for, she thought maybe she brought COVID. I just thought, oh, I just got whatever Brooke had. Like I'm good.
Okay.
I just got a little virus
Got a little.
because I started running a fever. But then it was like by day 2, I was like aching everywhere. But again, we're texting my surgeon constantly. We're sending him pictures of the fluid coming out of my drains. He's checking. I went in. He's like, no. He's like, everything's okay. And I could not sleep. It was a Saturday night and I got up at like midnight and I was sleeping in a recliner. So it was already terrible in our
Yeah.
bedroom. I'm like laying in a recliner next to Grant. He's in the bed. And I get up and I'm like, I'm just going to go downstairs and try and start over. I laid on the couch. I think I tried to watch a show and I stood up and my shirt was soaking wet. And I ran up, I didn't run, but I like went upstairs and I'm like, Grant, I'm like, my shirt's wet. And that is when infection was coming out of all of my incisions. And so that was when he was
Whoa.
like, come, I'll meet you at the hospital, get there at 6 a.m. And so at that point, I couldn't think about anything, not to mention he had taken a drain out and it wouldn't stop bleeding. And so I was like bleeding out of one side, pus is coming. I mean, all I could think about was like, I'm gonna die.
Mm.
So as far as scars or all of it being, I couldn't even, that wasn't
Yeah.
even on my mind. I just was like, I'm going to die. And the moment I woke up, because basically, like, they go in and like power wash, my whole back and get all that infection out. And it was like night and day. I got home Monday morning and I was so happy. I felt like a new person
Wow.
because I had felt so sick. But then Tuesday and Wednesday hit, and the realization of what had happened, and that basically I just like wrecked my whole body. I'm not really sure what was like sinking in. And that was when I was at the darkest place of my life,
Yeah.
Because suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I just went, like, yes, I don't have cancer, but I never felt like I had cancer?
Yeah.
And so it's like now I'm just like, I can't move. I can't lift my arms. The pain in my back was just excruciating. It was just so I was living on, and my dad's chemically dependent. I'm like, really, I don't like pain
Yeah.
pills. And so I did that in the beginning for like 2 days, but I'm like, I'm not doing that. But I remember, I mean, I was on, this sounds so silly, but ibuprofen, I mean, you take all that stuff around the clock. And I was like, I mean, week 7, I'm still like popping all these pills all day. And it just was, it was just hard. It was hard. So, yeah. But,
So one of the things I have questions about is you've mentioned, and even before this, you were talking about the regret and how that's really stuck with you, and it's something you struggle with even now.
mhm,
But what would you have changed?
yeah, I would have Googled.
Okay.
I would have
So
gotten a
you just
second
wouldn't
opinion.
have done the surgery through your back.
I would have never done that.
Okay.
Now that I know, so after everything fell apart, then I started looking
Okay.
online, and there's like Facebook groups of that particular surgery, which honestly, it was, I should stay off of that. I
Of
every
course.
even now I'll like something pop up, and because it's all the people who have had horrible experiences, everybody
Yeah.
who it worked, they're out living
They're
life,
not
they're
there.
not on the
Right.
computer. But man, that sent me just deeper into like, so what I know now is that surgery is a great surgery if you need like a last resort. So if you've had radiation and then that makes your skin even thinner,
Mm-hmm.
and so people that have gone through radiation and then try and do reconstruction, often their skin is so thin it can't hold an implant.
Okay.
And so that's when you need extra flesh or the muscle to help. And so that's what that surgery was designed for. It was
Okay.
designed for people who needed, who like had to have that. But to just volunteer to cut up my back, I basically robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
Wrecked my back to have a better looking, like a normal looking front. And then now I just wrecked it all because it doesn't look normal. But yeah, that was the regret. Was I
Okay.
had I even gotten one second opinion, I think they would have been like, "Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't recommend doing that."
Okay. And your oncologist didn't have an opinion on that.
She said she essentially backed up the fact that it does look more natural. And
Okay.
I remember she said this comment. She's like, oh, I can spot, they call it a direct to implant. So it's like mastectomy, direct to implant. She's like, I can spot that a mile away. But this really does look more natural. Because she said, I used to struggle with why all the extra cutting. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
But now I know it means like, why are you cutting into people's backs? You
Yeah.
know? He was like, but it's true, the results speak for themselves. But again, you don't know till you know. And
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
didn't even know what she was talking about. I'm like, wow, the extra cutting, like, oh yeah, a little cut in my back.
Yeah.
I truly, I just, yes, that's the regret. I feel like a
So,
complete idiot.
yeah, I'm sorry. If there's someone who's listening and this is where they're at and here are
Yeah.
their options, what would be the option that now you would say, try this one instead?
If I had it all over, I would do a double mastectomy. I wouldn't second guess that.
Yeah.
I would highly consider staying flat.
Okay.
So I was flat. I ended up having to be flat for 6 months because I had to
That's just
heal.
nothing.
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 That's an option.
Yes.
Okay.
So mine at the time, because I had them in and then I have all this extra skin, oh, it was a really bad sight. It was so bad. And the other problem with the lateral is now I have this extra flesh under my
Okay.
arms that I've never had. I had no idea, just more
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah.
So staying flat is something I would consider. I still
Okay.
don't think I would have done it because in the time that I was, it is true. Like even if you have no boobs, there are curves that you just don't realize. Like there is a shape. And when you're flat, it is like there's no shape. And
Okay.
so I remember having to go to my husband's Christmas party and I tried to put on a dress and I was like, this, I can't put, like, I can't wear a dress. Like there's
Yeah.
no, so if I had it over, I would just go straight to either implant or I would do the expanders.
Okay.
I would do that because that is probably the safest route.
Really?
But I would not cut anywhere else.
Okay. So talk to me about the recovery physically and then mentally.
Yeah, that's tricky because that was another thing that was so hard. I was like, I thought I was following all the rules. I was told, yeah, you can walk as much as you want. Just don't be pumping your arms. Don't get your heart rate up too high. Well, you tell me I can walk as much as I want. I'm like, I was walking like 5 miles a day
Okay.
and they were slow, but that was all I could do.
Yeah.
And now I know that was terrible.
Okay.
I was developing, I had seromas that are like pockets of fluid because when you remove something out of your body, then there's this empty space.
Okay.
And so drains are supposed to drain all of that. But if you're producing too much, then it's just collecting and then it can cause infection. And I had these like huge seromas on my back and I would walk and then they would leak and it just kept happening. And where someone should have told me like, no, you are getting your heart rate up too much. You need to just rest. So I was probably making things so much worse because I just wanted so desperately to feel like myself.
Yeah.
So after my second surgery, and that was the infection, and I found a new plastic surgeon. And
Okay.
so I had to wait about 5 months in between, and I had to let all my scar tissue heal. And we had to like massage it every night so it would be able to stretch again. And so the third surgery, I ended up getting expanders, which was the thing I didn't want. And that was wild because I would go in every week and they like drag a magnet and you find your port and literally she just like squeezes saline and my boob just like expanded right then. But it was the same thing. It was like I kept having to start over. And so with every surgery, then you can't do anything for 6 weeks. I mean, like nothing. I could walk up to a mile a day, slow, but I couldn't lift more than 5 pounds. I couldn't do housework. I couldn't cook for my kids. I couldn't drive for a month every time.
Wow.
It was wild. And so you add 4 surgeries together, and I basically sat around for a year.
A year. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is,
That'll play with your mind.
I mean, big time.
Yeah.
And this stage of life that I'm in, all my kids are in school. We've homeschooled, we fostered. I've always been super involved in the last 2 years, they're all at school.
Okay.
And so that already was like, okay, new stage of life. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then suddenly this hits. I felt so worthless because I didn't accomplish anything. I couldn't feel good about my parenting. I couldn't feel good about my homemaking. I couldn't feel good about running, pottery, like nothing. I couldn't do anything. And so you realize some things that you have a really, really strong hold on.
Yeah.
I am thankful for now that I'm on the other side. But just realizing like, man, I had a death grip on performing. And
Yeah.
when I can't perform, it really made me question, what am I worth, you know?
Yeah.
It was there was a lot of eye-opening moments. But the things that I gained are kind of crazy. I've never been loved and served like I was through that
Mm.
time. And I think that is something that people don't often get to experience because everybody's like, no, I got it. You know, like I don't need, I can do,
Mhm.
I can keep all the things going until one day, like overnight, like you can't.
Right.
And through that time, my husband was literally washing my hair, bathing me, helping me get out of bed, cooking for our kids, shaving my legs. Like he had to step up in so many ways. And it's funny, I just heard him say this yesterday to somebody else, but like he would tell you it was an honor. Like he would say like it was an honor to do that. And that you don't usually get to experience that 19
Yeah.
years into marriage when it's like we're so busy taking care of our kids and doing all the other things and suddenly like he's having to do everything. And so for that, I'm grateful. I would say I'm more confident in my marriage than I've ever been, even when I feel I'm like loathing myself and my reflection. And
Mhm.
yet at the same time, I'm feeling more loved by my husband than I ever have. I'd say
Mhm.
it's pretty cool.
I know everyone listening, like we have kind of your faith can be all kinds of things, but usually you have a belief system in something. And I know for us, when we were in our own like health season, sometimes you could be like, why? And almost a sense like, if this is not the right way to say this, but if you're like, if you're praying right or you believe enough or something, it's gonna change the outcome.
Hmm.
And then when it doesn't,
Hmm.
and you're left trying to be like, okay, well, here was God in this and here was God in this. I don't
Hmm.
know. It can feel confusing.
Yeah.
Tell me how that journey was for you. What did you feel?
When we were in it, it was so confusing.
Mm.
Because I mentioned to you, like, I mean, I even like checked to see if God just decided to do a miracle, you know? And
Yeah.
um,
Which
this
I
sounds,
related to.
yeah, yeah.
We
I
felt
mean,
that, you know?
yes, this sounds super woo woo. But like um, so growing, I've always loved Jesus, and so that's been a big part of my life. We have like a really small country church, and so like there were 8 of us, and they anointed me with oil and like prayed over me, and so I just was like, man, I'm doing all the right things. Like
Right.
this is gonna go well, you know. And truly, every single thing went wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
at every turn, it was like, I think I made the wrong choice. Like, I think I did all of this completely wrong. And it wasn't until I got on the other side of like the worst of the worst, and I could look back, and that is where I'm like, oh my gosh, like God was there all along. He was there all along. I told you about my son's teacher. That started in motion. And it wasn't just the mission trip where we had that moment. She has become one of my best friends. And
Mm.
it's just been like this rock in my life. And so I can tell you that the Lord was already at work,
Mm.
moving things into place 3 years ago, knowing that I was going to need her in this last
Yeah.
year, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like countless others like that where I truly can see like the chess pieces being moved. And I feel the same way about what I just said about Grant
Yeah.
and our relationship, and the way that he served me in such a sacrificial way
Mm.
that I am beyond a shadow of a doubt. If our faith wasn't a big deal in his life, that's not how it would have gone. Like I truly believe that he served and loved me out of an overflow of his
Mm.
love for the Lord, you know?
Mm.
And so, no, did it make everything work out perfectly? No. But I mean, I am healthy and I am going to be okay. And I learned so much. It's like my parents had a really hard marriage, and they divorced my freshman year of college,
Mhm.
and it was horrible, and it made me questioned so much of my childhood. I would never wish that on anyone. But
Mm-hmm.
because I went through that, I made a lot of different choices about the kind of
Right.
person I married. Do you know what I'm saying? And
I
so
do.
it's like, no, I would never wish that experience on anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but can I come out and still see that God is good? Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
I have two questions before we probably
Okay.
need to wrap up. Um, One, I know just going through this as a mother, you're worried about yourself and then you're worried about how this is affecting your kids. That's a guess. That's how I've been at different times
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
Did you feel that? How did you reckon with it?
Yeah. It was rough. I think that was the hardest part. It was interesting. It's interesting seeing how kids handle things differently.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest, same sex. She's like, just little mini Jessica. And she wanted to just fix everything. It was
Yeah.
like, what can I do? How can I? My middle, Cohen, my only boy, he literally avoided me for that first
Okay.
month. Like, I think because I was sitting truly in a recliner upstairs a lot of the time. And he would just stay downstairs. He just didn't, it was like he just didn't even want to see it.
Yeah.
And so I missed him. It was like,
I
ugh.
bet.
And then my youngest was 6, and it was just hard for her to understand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still hard for her to understand. She'll hug me now, and she's like, "Ooh, sorry," and I'm like, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay."
Yeah.
And it's like for so long, I think she just thought I was so fragile.
Mm.
And I remember recently, I don't remember what the activity was, but I actually participated. And she was like, "Oh, you never do that." And it's like,
Hurt you.
it hurt. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I
You're
couldn't
like, that's what I do.
do that, you know? And so that was hard because it's like for me, I think to me, I'm like, I know what it used to be like, you
Yeah.
know? But they're
Sorry.
so young that this is who I'm like, is this who they're gonna remember? Mom who like couldn't do anything, who felt kind of lame. And so I think it's been the hardest part with the kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like they kind of couldn't remember who I was. I think she's the oldest, and so just I kid you not, just a few nights ago, she looked over at me and she was like, "I'm so glad you're better." I think that it takes a toll on everybody.
It does. Yeah. How are you feeling now? Do you feel like largely you can do the things you used to do? Do you feel like you're still recovering? You mentioned it doesn't feel the same. Is that how it's going to stay?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm asking myself all of those questions every day
Okay.
because the ways that I know I'm so much better is I wake up and it's not the first thing I think about. And for so long, I was like, I would wake up and I would be like, oh shit, like I'm still here.
Yeah.
And so I wake up and I don't think about my back
Okay.
right away. So that's where I know I'm getting better. I think I'm going to have lifelong back issues. And I'm really sad about that. My surgeon said to me at one of my checkups, this is going to be a few years. And I was
Okay.
kind of thankful. Like, okay, thank
Yeah.
you for just being honest. She's
Right.
like, it's going to take a couple years for you to feel like yourself. And so I feel hopeful that
Yeah.
it's going to keep getting better. I do. But I'm lifting weights. I can jump. I did a cartwheel the other day. Do I feel the same? Nah,
Yeah.
I don't. And I think that this is just going to be a new version of me.
Yeah. I think I think that a lot of women can relate to that. Not
Yeah.
that they've been through your story, but there are points of it that I think once you get to this point in life,
Yeah.
we've all gone through some shit. So you can relate to feeling abandoned, to feeling like things didn't work out the way you wanted, to
Yeah.
feeling like the version of you is not there. I know for me, there have been incidents that have happened, and I know that I can't ever go back to who I was. Like they changed me forever.
Yeah.
And those hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been through some stuff,
Yeah.
but I have never known what grief meant until this.
Yeah.
And I think I heard someone say that it was you can't picture life going forward the same anymore. And that is it. And the amount of time that I have just cried and kicked my feet, like, I just wanna go back, like, I just wanna go back.
Yeah.
Just one thing I would do differently, and but even that's not true. Even if I wouldn't have done the back surgery, I still wouldn't be the same. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, I think we
Right.
get it in our head that I messed up in this one turn, and had I just done it differently, and that's just a lie. Like,
Yeah.
there's just different seasons, and
Yeah.
it's like what we talked about before. Even if I hadn't gone through any of this, I'd still be in my 40s, and there'd still be so many things that it's just a new version of me,
Right.
that I couldn't have stopped.
Yeah. This is a question, and you do not have to answer it if you
Mhm.
don't feel comfortable with it. But what is intimacy like in a
Yeah,
body you don't feel good in?
yeah. It's really hard, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's weird too because it's like it's not what Grant thinks about me because truly, like, I know. I mean, and he's a man, like, he didn't care. But I
Yeah.
mean, but I know he loves me, and I know that whatever he sees, he can deal with. It's me.
Yeah.
I loathe myself without a shirt on. And even like I mentioned, having no feeling, like, it just changes everything.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I have had to grieve that part so
Yeah.
much. And I'm still in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can ever have sex without a bra on for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
I'm meeting with a friend who's an artist, and she's designing some tattoos because I'm thinking about just like, because I feel like I'm wearing something that then
Yeah.
maybe if I have tattoos over it, then I'll actually feel like covered.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been thinking about that, but no, it's the saddest part. It's sadder than all the things I can't physically do like I used to. This one makes me the most sad.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the one that it's like nobody gives you a heads up on that. You know?
Yeah.
You're just doing what you got to do, and then it's like, man, I didn't realize that was going to affect every part of my life.
Just to wrap up, anybody who could be going through this, do you have any advice, anything that you wish somebody would have told you?
No, I mean, yes, find people who have been through it. Just so you have like a realistic expectation. On one hand, I had that, but everybody, it's your body, so everybody's going to handle it differently. They're going to feel differently about it. But just having someone that you can have an honest conversation with, and maybe I'm just going to say it, but maybe don't have a male plastic surgeon, because I'm serious. Like, it's just
Yeah.
something they cannot relate
They
with
don't get it.
at all. And so even that, I think, played a big role. So I don't know, but yeah.
I loved it. I know that this is going to be helpful to a lot of people. And I really appreciate you being so brave and sharing a story that you probably hate and wish
Yeah,
wasn't yours.
it's true. No, it was good to catch up.